Worry Lines is a wearable textile piece and ongoing performance that makes visible the anxiety-producing experience of living within systems of power that conflict one's identity. I approached this project from different locations: identity, anxiety, and lines. I began by thinking about my intersectional fluid identity and how it manifests in different spaces. I am a gender-fluid, white, settler, hard-of-hearing queer with anxiety disorder. My anxiety is felt in the body and occasionally manifests when my identity conflicts heteronormative systems and values. As a queer person, I frequently experience life in non-normative ways. Sarah Ahmed, in her book Queer Phenomenology, uses the analogy of lines to describe queer ways of becoming in the world. Ahmed highlights how queer folk deviate from straight heteronormative lines of force, instead orientating themselves towards oblique lines that extend them into queer non-normative spaces. In Worry Lines, I played with oblique lines of rope, looping and repeating them into a wearable textile piece. Although a sewing machine zigzag stitch holds the rope coil technique in place, the overall composition of the piece happened by combining different coiled elements that were reworked to make facial features. By reworking and repositioning abstract shapes, the piece came into being through a collaboration between myself and the materials. The composition of the worrisome expression was not predetermined. Over time, the repetition of certain facial expressions results in worry lines, like the lines of rope in the textile piece. Although worry lines are a physical manifestation of anxiety written onto the body, anxiety is felt in the body. Therefore, it was important for me to wear the textile piece on my body while in spaces in which I might experience anxiety in my body. So I performed with the textile piece in different spaces. The original intention was to perform in academic spaces, and as the piece was constructed in New York City, I chose Columbia University as a site because of its quintessential neoclassical aesthetic. But as I was moving through the city, I repeatedly donned the piece for improvised guerrilla-style experimental performances. These included the street, the subway, and in front of the Gagosian Gallery in Chelsea. The performances, like the composition of the textile piece, were not predetermined, but rather I acted the way I usually would in the different spaces. This created an uncanny tension between the normalcy of my clothing and actions and the strangeness of the textile piece. Worry Lines is strange, yet familiar. The textile piece in relation to the campus, the bench, the street, the coat, the hat, changes those things. It is odd and perhaps anxiety-inducing as the tension brings normalcy into question. In this sense, Worry Lines is not simply a manifestation of anxiety that results from the ongoing mechanics of post-colonial settler oppression in the university. It is an activation that pushes back on those workings. It is an agitation designed to worry back the institution. As a research creation project, embodied knowledge was generated through the making of the textile piece and through the wearing of it during performances. Making the piece was not anxiety-producing, but the participation between myself and the materiality highlights the agency of relationality between humans, ideas, buildings, spaces, clothing, that combine to form oppressive structures or challenge those structures. The performances activated unexpected relationships, things like citizenship, my status as a foreigner in New York, law enforcement, public decency, spectacle, and age. I hadn't previously made a connection between Worry Lines and an embodied experience over time, or rather, I didn't understand it or know it until I performed it. Worry Lines is an ongoing project that continues to form connections over time. I'm interested in what new embodied knowledge might be generated by performing with the piece in Toronto, where I was born and live as a settler navigating institutions, or even how this presentation today might have in some small way contributed to a worrying back of institutions that uphold post-colonial settler oppression. Thank you.